Zalij tiles start out as a simple mixture of clay and water. But after several days of painstaking work, artisans chisel and transform them into a complex work of art. Compared to other popular tiles, Zalij tiles aren't cheap. A square foot can cost $50, while ceramic subway tiles might only cost around 15 cents. But this art form relies on the skilled artisans that make each tile by hand. Like Ahmed Al-Maghari, who has been making Zalij tiles for 54 years. So how are Zalij tiles made? And is this what makes them so expensive? While perfection is often valued, it's the imperfect qualities of Zalij that make the tiles so unique. Artisans in Morocco have been hand-making Zalij tiles for centuries. Today, they continue this tradition in the city of Fez.
يعني خدمة ما كتشبه الخدمة وهندسة ما كتشبه الهندسة حتى كيولي الإنسان عنده مقتدر كيولي عنده واحد التجربة في الصنعة لأن الصنعة ما يمكنلكش تقول أنا راني معلم ما عمرك ما تقول أنا معلم لأن ديما كتتعلم ديما الجديد.
But before artisans at Arabesque can create tiles, they first need to form the clay. Fez has remained a center for Zalij partly because of these rocks. They're considered some of the best materials in the region for making high-quality clay.
الطين هذا ديال المغرب هذا الأصل ديالو مغربي وكاين غير في مدينة فاس.
This clay is believed to be more durable than some clays found further south, and it can withstand very high temperatures once fired. First, an artisan tosses the rocks into a pit in the ground called a zuba. They fill the zuba with water and leave the rocks to soften for a day. Then, in one of many tedious stages to come, an artisan kneads the clay using their hands and feet to make it more malleable. After the clay has fermented for a day, a different artisan has the task of molding it into the proper shape. The artisan places the clay into a mold, smoothing it over with one hand so the surface is flat. For every 10 kilograms of clay, artisans can make over 10 square feet, or about 1 meter, of tiles. After molding hundreds of tiles, they leave the clay to dry under the sun. The next stage is vital to ensuring the tiles will remain intact.
نحطوا القاله فوق منها القياس كنجيب واحد الكوتشيه جنويه كيضربها باش كتزقاد كتعطينا سنتيم ونص سنتيم وشويه على حساب القياس خصنا القياس اللي بغينا حنا.
Hitting the clay repeatedly also removes air bubbles. If the air isn't removed, the tile may break when an artisan later tries to chisel it. Once each piece is perfectly square, the tiles dry again under the sun. Finally, it's time for the clay to head to the kiln. Precision is critical at this stage, which is why just one person is trusted to lead the job.
وكنهزوه كنجيبوه المرحله هي هذه كيبس ملي كنجيبوه كيبس المرحله كندخلوه للفرينه احنا كندخلوه للفرينه هي هذه كيدخل الفرينه كيكون الشحان عندنا شحان اختصاصي بهذا الشيء لما كنشوف هو ما يتشحنش هذه الفرينه الاختصاص تعلم هذه الحرفه هذه تعلمها من الطفوله ديالو.
Abdelwahed glazes the tiles and then they're fired for a second time. This second firing ensures the color won't fade. It also gives Zalij tiles one of their most distinct features. Heat doesn't circulate evenly in a traditional Moroccan kiln, which is why each tile, even those with the same color glaze, will have a slightly different shade. But these tiles are just getting started. After glazing, the tiles move on to the cutting stage, where artisans trace the small shapes they'll later carve. Chiseling the tiles requires total concentration. Artisans must carve each piece as cleanly as possible. Otherwise, it may not fit properly into the final design. How well and efficiently this is done depends on the expertise of the artisan, and a tool known as the menkash. It's a combination of a hammer and an axe. Because they're hand-chiseled, no two Zalij tiles will look exactly the same. It's the prime feature that distinguishes Zalij from mass-produced tiles that are notably uniform in color, shape, and texture. Arabesque first creates designs on the computer. Then Ahmed uses a paper printout as a guide to assemble the final design on the floor. Ahmed inserts each individual tile by hand, like a puzzle piece, making sure every tile seamlessly fits next to its neighbor.
يعني كتشوف العين ديالك باليد ديالك الحواس ديالك كلها عقلك الحواس ديالك كلها كتخدم مع داك الحاجه اللي كتكون كتخدم فيها بعد سميتو 1000 قطعه عاد يمكن لها تعمر لك متر وبعد الخطره يمكن غير مثلا 100 قطعه غتعمر لك متر.
After about 15 days of assembling the pieces, Ahmed can reveal the finished design.
ها هو نفس طبق الاصل. هاي الرسمه اللي عطاونا من الاداره ها هو طبق الاصل. يعني كاينين جوج ها الرسمه اللي عطاونا من الاداره احنا خدمنا عليها. فهمتيني؟ كي كتشوف هذا الرسمه هنا اللي كاينه في البرونه وما هنا كاينه.
The final price of a mosaic like this is the sum of several factors, including the number of pieces and their shape.
This is the average, normal 36 pieces. The shape of it is very square, so the price of it is very affordable. Unlike if we go here, which is made of stars and cross. There are 36 pieces by 36, so 36 pieces here also, but the price of this is 4 times the price of the other one because of the shape.
Adil also considers the size of the tiles within a design. Smaller pieces are not as simple to chisel by hand. The smaller the tiles, the more expensive the design will be.
There are areas where you have a square foot that can have 64 pieces, 128 pieces, 360 pieces versus 36 pieces. So if you have one that costs $10 per square foot, the other one might cost 10 times, $100 per square foot.
The price increases further for more complex designs.
This tile has an interlace. The interlace is automatically double the price. So if you have a $10 square foot, with the interlace it's $20.
Centuries ago, Zalij tiles were reserved for royal palaces. Today, they've become synonymous with Moroccan design. You'll find them covering walls, floors, and fountains across Fez.
When we talk about Morocco and Moroccan architecture, the first thing comes to mind is Zalij.
But its influence goes beyond Morocco. Demand has grown in the US, especially in recent years, as notable designers like Kelly Worsler incorporate Zalij into their own work. But the way some are using the tiles is different. Rather than mosaics, they're creating monochromatic backsplashes. Part of the appeal of using just one color of Zalij is that it appears ombre when multiple tiles come together, thanks to their subtle variation in shade. But while Zalij becomes more popular overseas, Adil struggles to find young people locally he can trust with the trade.
This is more of a living art, but it's also a dying tradition. Nowadays, people are not patient as much as in before. If you look at the people who used to work in this trade, they are very calm, they are very peaceful, they have inner peace. Nowadays, we find extreme hardship to train and adopt people who can carry this kind of tradition as a Zalij artisans.
إنسان أي عمل من هذا كيخصو يعطيه الحق ديالو. أي عمل يمشي الإنسان يقوم به تيخصو يعني يعطيه الحق ديالو. الصنعة إنسان إلا بغى مثلا يملكها ولا شي حاجة راه تيخصو يعطيها حقها ويعطيها الوقت ديالها باش كيكسب واحد المهارات ومع الطولان ديال الحياه ديالو هو محدو، هو تيخدم هو تيتعلم. راه ماشي المعلم تيتسمى راه معلم، ديما تيبقى تيتعلم، الحياه ديالو كلها ديما تيبقى يتعلم.
The quality of Zalij depends on the hand that makes it. Preserving it means finding more artisans like Ahmed, willing to spend decades learning the craft behind this signature Moroccan design.